One of the big issues you always hear about online is the weight of a saw. So to me, the dry weight doesn't really mean anything. So I want to take a couple of these saws that I use, load it up with gas and oil, and stick them on the scale and see what we have for weight. I don't know if you can read that or not. About that. So we have a 22.8 pound tool right there. I think that's a good baseline because I see that as a pretty lightweight saw. Let's go to the other extreme. I'm actually going to run this thing today, so it's all loaded up, ready to go. 27.4 pounds. That beast. So that's 5 pounds heavier than my 372 based 48 millimeter build. A 28-inch solid bar and chain. Not as much heavier as I expected it to be. Good data. How about an L77 from the 1970s? It's also loaded up with gas and oil. 23.2 pounds. 23.2 pounds. That's an 80cc saw from the 1970s. Alright, and this is a John Thread Model 80 in the same era of that Husqvarna. Now my take on this is it feels heavier than the Husky. We'll find out. $25.8 pounds. So yes, it is heavier than the Husqvarna of the same era. It does feel heavier, but I don't see that as a big heavy saw. I mean it is, but I don't feel it's out of whack. And what you get with this saw as compared to the Husky is a little more sophisticated anti-vibe, but that's a beast. So that 1970s era L series Husqvarna, they're in the same weight class as the saws you're buying right today. And I can tell you right now that 77 doesn't lose much to a 70cc saw you buy now. So my question to you is, how much have we really gained? Last saw put on the scale. Actually, I'm going to put two more just for reference. Here is a 70E, 24.6 pounds. So that's heavier than the Husqvarna as well. And the thing I really like about that 70E right there is it always starts. It'll sit there and idle, you know, just putt-putt like a lawnmower. And it has good enough power to get done the work I need to get done, so that's a good saw. This is an empty, it does not have gas and oil. 562. Yep, they're lighter, they're smoother, they run crisp. That's a 60cc saw option. It's a great saw. That series of saw right there, that's a shocker for me. I did not expect them to be that light, and they run good. And another reference saw. This one here has got some issues that I've got to solve. So it's missing a few pieces and it has no gas and oil in it. It's a 461, but it has a solid Oregon bar. And let's see what it weighs. $23.4 pounds. And again, being empty, if I load that up with gas and bar oil, it's going to be another half a pound to a pound. And that's, I mean, that's a handy saw. I like those, you know. But yeah, let me make sure it doesn't have gas and oil. I don't think it does. Yeah, it has a little tiny bit in there, but it's essentially empty. So there you go. Some numbers to think about. These are the saws that are going out in the job today. They're all loaded up, full, ready to go. But when you look at that mix right there, and the ones I put on the scale, I didn't collate the numbers yet. I haven't gone in there and done that. But my impression has always been that 48 millimeter build on the 372 chassis is just a great saw. I mean, it has lots and lots more power than that 562 does. Really not in the same league. You know, so much more torque and more power on top. Now it's tweaked, but the point is that's something you guys can build. There's nothing special about that saw at all, really. You know, it's not something you have to go spend $400 to have someone build. I mean, you guys can replicate that saw with stuff off of eBay, tools from Tractor Supply and Lowe's, you know what I'm saying? And those saws right there, I mean, you can pick them up for like 150 bucks on eBay. And I gotta tell you, the difference in power, yeah, that thing has a lot more chain speed. The 365 does. Really a lot more chain speed. I only put a 7.2 sprocket on that 77 and it'll easily pull an 8. You know what I'm saying? So I could actually make it cut faster by picking up the chain speed, just simply changing the sprocket. But it's an old saw, you know? I like it just the way it is. I'm not out for maximum speed and stuff like that. But the point is that a saw like that is a lot of performance and it's not a lot of money. And those saws right here, all of them actually, are vintage iron that you get for nothing. Well, you know, next to nothing. Something like this video goes out there, they'll start thinking they have value, but you know, that one I've had for decades. So it's not a throwaway, it just, you know, I just keep using it. But this was a gift from Bob. It was Merry Christmas. And that one was as well, but you see these things online or you see them on Facebook for, you know, 150, 200 bucks in running condition. So a hobbyist, not a professional, but a hobbyist can take these things and turn them into useful saws. They were very useful in their time. Why would you think they're not useful now? The technology difference is rather shocking, obviously, when you compare it to like the 572s and things like that. But their ability to cut wood is not as far off as you would think. You know, this reminds me of the discussion of the motorcycles when you went through the 70s suspension changes and chassis improvements up until the 80s and 90s. You get a really good rider on one of those 1980s era bikes. Guess what? Their lap times are not a whole lot worse than some of the new bikes of the same guy, you know. Obviously the pro rider can make a difference, but the basic chassis were sorted out. Well, that Husky right there, 1970s era Husky, I'm telling you guys, that saw is sorted out. That thing will cut wood. Well, there's the piece of wood, and there are the saws, just to give you an idea of the diameter of that wood. It's pretty good size. It's not the biggest chunk of wood I've dealt with on the farm, but it's actually fairly typical of what we do here, you know, in the hedgerow. And the problem is going to be finding a place to get that butt where I don't hit barbed wire. That's usually the big issue. The rest of it's just, you know, wood. It's actually really solid. Now, you saw me take this down with the John thread and the 24-inch bar. And I don't know if you remember, but I had to hit it from both sides in order to get it down. And it came right down. Maybe I'll show the felling of that in this video here. Well, I'll tell you what, that's some solid wood in there. It's going to make some really good firewood. Now the fellow who's taking the firewood has already got most of it. I took a load with a bucket, but there was probably 3 or 4 more bucket loads. And there's some more down there we have to take. So we're not done here yet. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a dead tree right there, straight ahead. But this here will take me the rest of the afternoon. Grind through all this and maybe block it up some. So these are all loaded up. I had them on the scale, and you know the drill. You know, let's see which ones start, because that's going to determine which ones get the job. That's a lot of wood right there. I think I'm going to come back with a bigger saw. This is a little bit more than this little saw was really set up to do. This is my 48 millimeter build, and it was meant for 20-inch wood and smaller, not for this big stuff. I think I'm going to take a look and see what's going on with that Homelite, because I really do need the Homelite for that next set of wood. I really do. It's a little more than this little saw is designed for. Well, I'm afraid my old Warrior's come to its end. Something's let loose in the bottom end. Here. Don't know what it is. But boy, that's a sad day for that saw, for it to stop. This is one of those saws that does not owe me anything. So maybe I need to tear it down and find out what came apart in this poor old thing. Boy, that's a shame. What a bad time for that to do that. And it didn't do it while I was running. It did it while I was trying to pull it over. So, sad music should be installed here. Poor old thing. I've had this saw for 20 years. No, I've had this for more than 20 years. And this one here, the bar oil cap fell off, probably my fault. That's why I have this stuff around. I don't use it often, but I needed to clean that out, so I just dumped it in there and flushed it around a little bit. And I think I'll take a couple of cuts of that and make sure it's still oiling properly. Yeah, this has been a day of catastrophe, right?